People who purchased their first home didn't purchase it because they watched and timed the market. You've been fed a story that the economy, the rates, and your savings account are what's standing between you and a house. But the real block is who you think you are. In this video, I'm going to show you how to identify the renter identity, how to escape the renter trap, and the boring 3-step process that starts working before you ever speak to a loan officer. Here's every video you've ever watched about buying a home. First, check your credit score. Then save 3 months of expenses. Then pay off your debt. Then get your debt to income ratio under 43%. And you watch it. You take notes. Maybe you even open a new savings account that same day. And then 6 months later, you're still renting, still watching videos, wondering why nothing is moving. Here's the thing. It's not because the checklist was wrong. The checklist is fine. The problem is that handing someone a home buying checklist without fixing their identity first, it's like handing someone a meal plan without fixing how they see themselves. The person who looks in the mirror and still sees someone who can't get healthy will follow that meal plan for 2 weeks and then quit. Not because the plan failed them, but because nothing inside of them actually changed. The plan was always sitting on top of an identity working against it. That's exactly what's happening every time you watch another video about interest rates and down payments and walk away feeling more stuck than ever before. The advice didn't fail you. The identity underneath it did. And until you fix that first, no checklist on the internet is going to get you the house. So here's step 1. This is where it actually starts for most people. I want to tell you something about where I started. I was working part-time jobs. My credit was in the 500s. I was sleeping on the floor of my mom's 2-bedroom apartment. And if you'd shown me a home buying checklist at that point, I would have laughed. Not because I didn't want a home, because I did, but because nothing about how I was living matched the person who owns one. The shift didn't start with a loan officer. It didn't start with a down payment or a better interest rate. It started with me paying one bill on time. Then I opened up Credit Karma and watched my credit score move. Just a little, but it moved. And something about seeing that number go up made me want to do it again. So I did. Then again. And slowly I started building momentum of someone who was becoming an owner, even though the bank had no idea yet. So here's the question I want you to sit with. What good is a qualifying credit score if you walk into that loan officer's office with the same habits that created the problem in the first place? The credit score is just a number. The habits underneath it are who you are. And if those haven't changed, the number is just a temporary disguise on an identity that's still renting. The renter identity isn't just a financial position. It's a daily decision to stay exactly where you are. Step 2 is where the identity flip happens. And this is the part most people skip. So if the renter identity is the problem, what does the homeowner identity actually look like before you own anything? Because that's where most people get stuck. They hear think like an owner and it sounds good, but they have no idea what that means on a practical level while they're still writing a renter's check every single month. When I sit down with a client for the first time, the conversation is never good or bad. It's a neutral conversation. We're not judging where they are. We're getting clear on it. What does the financial picture actually look like right now? From there, the plan is simple, even if it's not easy. Increase the income first, whether that's getting a better job or a part-time job. Then take the smallest debt and pay it off. Take that minimum payment and roll it straight into the next debt. Keep going until the debt is gone or close to it. Then you start saving. And this is where it gets hard because the moment most clients see money sitting in their account, every part of their old identity is telling them to spend it. That feeling, that urge right there is the renter identity showing up in real time. Most people think that they need a house before they act like an owner, but it works the other way around. First you be, then you do, then you have. You decide who you are first, and the decisions of that person start producing the results. You don't wait until you own a home to think like an owner. You start now from inside the rental, and the home becomes inevitable. Step 3 is where it gets concrete, because thinking like an owner means nothing without daily action to back it up. Here's where you start. Open Credit Karma or any platform that runs a soft credit check. It won't hurt your credit score. Look at every balance, look at every minimum payment, and then write it all down. Not in your head, not in a spreadsheet you'll never open again, but on a piece of paper where you have to look at it. Income, payments out, every single one. This is exactly like counting calories. Most people think they eat pretty well until they actually write it down and realize three things they didn't even consider were adding up. Money works the same way. You think you know where it's going until you see it on paper and realize your habits have been making decisions for you this whole time. And here's what happens the moment you become aware. The small decisions start carrying weight they never had before. Paying a bill on time stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like a vote. A vote for the person you're becoming. Every minimum payment you roll into the next debt is another vote. Every time you don't spend the money sitting in your account, that's a vote. You're not just fixing your credit, you're deciding who you are. I want to tell you about a client who came to me wanting to buy a house with his mom as a co-signer. His mom had everything in order. He was the one who needed to shift. And honestly, even his mom didn't believe he would. There was no evidence at that point that suggested he was going to turn it around. But he started. He became aware of where his money was actually going. He paid one bill on time, then another. And slowly, after 3 years of boring daily decisions, something changed. Not just in his credit profile, but in who he was. He went from there's no reason to pay on time, most people have bad credit anyway, to when I become a homeowner, my spending habits need to reflect that. He didn't wait until he had a house to change. He changed first and the house followed. When he and his mom came back to get pre-qualified, his entire credit profile had transformed. His credit score was higher, his income went further, and they closed on a home together. That was 8 years ago. 8 years later, that house they purchased is now worth $200,000 more. 3 years of boring did that, and it starts tonight for you. Open Credit Karma, write down every single balance and every payment, and cast your first vote for the person you're becoming. You came into this video thinking the thing standing between you and your home was your bank account. But now you know the real block was never money. It was the story you've been telling yourself about who you are. The boring daily decisions to vote for the person you're becoming is what changes everything. But here's the thing, knowing who you want to become is only half of it. The next question is, what do you actually do with the financial picture you just wrote down? How do you take that awareness and turn it into a real plan that gets you sitting across from a loan officer with something to show for it? That's exactly what the next video covers. It's already on your screen. Watch it next.